Hi, everyone. Good evening. Wednesday night here. Wasn't planning on getting on earlier this week, but decided to jump on tonight. I've had quite a few people reach out to me. They want me to comment on this issue with the supposed plea offer to Donna that was rejected. And I did not trust that information from the start. I thought about maybe jumping on and saying, look, I don't consider this accurate information, but I just sat back and wait to see what was developing. And this story's now been running 3 days in a row now on court TV, as this is a legitimate, true, accurate story that Donna was offered get out of jail free as long as she flipped on Wendy. So that's something that just seemed to me like it was very self-serving for the defense to say something like this, that it would be putting doubts in the minds of people following the case that, well, gosh, the state attorney's office, they don't have a lot of confidence in prosecuting Wendy or Donna because they're willing to basically let Donna get off with some kind of a low-level crime type time served sentence for being a integral planner and executor of this murder hit on Professor Dan Markell up there in Tallahassee over 11 years ago. But then it also, the fact that she won't testify against Donna, that makes it look like she's maintaining her innocence. So that also is a good PR move for that. And then it also makes it look like the state is desperate to get Wendy, and they don't have enough evidence against her. So in essence, this really is really a smooth move by the defense to make it look like, hey, you don't have enough on Donna and you don't have enough on Wendy. So guess what? You have no cases that you're going to win against either one of them. So why even try? So I think that's the real takeaway that I had on this thing. And then lo and behold, as this has played out, we find out that the defense counsel is saying that they're denying that this was any kind of an offer that was made by the state. And the prosecutor made a statement to another channel, Deep Dive True Crime, and they were sent an email response to the query from that channel asking him, is there any truth to this? And he categorically denied it. And then he also gave a press conference. So we'll cover that tonight. But I just think that all this is looking totally like defense PR, and it's designed to distract folks from really thinking how strong the evidence is and making the state attorney's office look weak and indecisive. So let's go ahead and look and see what was shown here on court TV. This was Monday night. So
I'm Vinny Politan. We continue our investigation of the murder of loving father Dan Markell. Prosecutors say he was the victim of a murder-for-hire plot hatched by his ex-in-laws. Here's the story. Dan Markell, a brilliant Florida State law professor and loving father, was gunned down in broad daylight in his driveway in 2014. What first appeared to be a senseless act of violence unraveled into a sinister web of family resentment and custody disputes. At the center, his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, and her wealthy, tight-knit family. Dan had blocked Wendy's desperate attempt to relocate their children to South Florida, igniting years of animosity. Prosecutors say that animosity turned deadly. A murder-for-hire plot emerged, with Wendy's mother, Donna Adelson, allegedly paying to have Dan killed. Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia were convicted. Catherine McBanoa, the link between the killers and Wendy's brother, was also sentenced. Though Wendy was never charged, her words, actions, and unsettling silence cast long shadows. Did she know more than she said? As the trials continue and Donna faces justice, the world watches, haunted by what may have been a family's deadly secret. And we've been taking a look at the initial interview of Wendy Adelson just hours after Dan Markell was gunned down in his driveway. She's sitting down with police. And at one point in the interview, she picks up her phone and calls her mother Donna.
I'm glad they call it an interview because so many people are calling it an interrogation. It's not an interrogation. It's an interview. She was the first person that the police questioned about this. So they're just trying to gather facts and see what Wendy had for background information. That's all this was.
The camera's rolling. The microphone is on. Let's take a look.
Hi, Mom. How's it going? Mom, I need you to sit down. I am fine. The boys are fine. I need you to sit down. I'm fine, and the boys are. I
mean, other than saying I'm fine, the boys are fine. Like, hey, I'm about to drop something really serious on you here, Mom. She doesn't sound upset at all.
They're fine. Danny has been. You can put me on speaker.
Yeah, she's not crying at all. I mean, she should be devastated, even though she divorced the guy previous. These are your boy's father that you're talking about here.
Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's going to make it. And so I know. So I found this out around 1 or 2 today, and I'm at the police station, and I'm trying to help them figure out who may have done this. The boys are fine. I had Lynn and Alan pick them up from school, and they're with Lynn and Alan right now. And I'm gonna leave here soon and go be with them. But I really need you to come here and be with me. But I want you to either fly, obviously you can't leave right now, but I need you to get yourself together. If it's too much to drive, I'd really rather that you flew up. I'm at the police station, and I'm gonna leave.
You know, you can tell by what she's saying here, Donna hasn't ever said, well, who did it? What do you mean he got shot? Where did he get shot at? Where was he at? None of those kind of details. It's just so superficial. Totally rehearsed sounding.
Soon and be with the boys before they go to bed. They're with Alan and Lynn, and they're totally fine. Yeah, the boys are fine, but they don't know anything yet. In his house. I know. I know. So I just need you to calm down before you get in the car, okay?
Calm down.
Okay. All right. I love you. I think Jane might. I have the car here, but Jane might take me. I'm not going to be alone, so I have a lot of support, and I'll be fine. Yeah, if you could just come here, that would be great. He's in the ICU in the hospital. Okay, but be careful, okay? Okay.
None of them say anything about, can you imagine what these boys are going to have for the rest of their life? This awesome dad of theirs was not in their life. I mean, none of that conversation. You can't even cry for the sake of this tragedy the boys are going to have to face. It's just...
Okay.
So, self-evident.
Okay. Love you too.
I agree.
Mom. Oh.
You did awesome with that call. You were so stressed out about it, and you handled it.
Yeah, you sound so stressed.
So as you watched the call, you could hear, and we boosted the audio a little bit, you could hear Donna on the other side, some of her reactions as well. And that brings us to the next question in our investigation. It's about that communication. What does Wendy's call to Donna reveal? Here to help answer the question, criminal defense attorney, former federal prosecutor Tim Jansen, and Joel Waldman, host of the Surviving the Survivor podcast. Now, gentlemen, before you answer this question, big breaking news on Surviving the Survivor today with you two. Let's play that clip for the folks at home, and then let's talk about that and then answer this question. Let's watch.
I wanted to break this. This is something I just heard from a very good source. Donna was offered a plea deal of time served if she gave up Wendy.
Whoa.
And she turned it down. And this is inside the courthouse. She was offered, someone said maybe give her a deal.
What do you mean it was inside the courthouse? What part of it was inside the courthouse? She was brought to the courthouse and formally offered a plea. What does he mean by that? This was in the courthouse. So you were in the courthouse and somebody told you this? Not sure what he's talking about here.
They said no. She was offered time served if she would give Wendy, because of her age. She turned it down.
Unreal. You guys are hearing that first anywhere, I think, but here on Surviving the Survivor.
So it sounded like Joel is even shocked about this. This is the first time he's hearing it. So did Tim get some kind of email or some kind of text message from somebody he knows? And how's this person so reliable now we know it's been debunked?
Hearing it first there, and you may have noticed Julie Janae, Court TV, TV's own anchor, was there as well. Now, Court TV has reached out to the prosecutors, and they would not confirm the report. If I was the prosecutor, I wouldn't confirm it either, because you just can't confirm that sort of stuff.
Okay, so here's what happened. So Court TV, Tim is all greeny-eyed here. Look at this setup here now. So Court TV, I was supposed to be on there Monday night. They asked me last Friday if I'd come on this past Monday to be on this 1 hour segment of theirs for whatever segment they're going to have me on. I wasn't clear on that. They gave me like a few hours before, hey, you're going to be on the first, second, third, or fourth segment of the show. So anyway, so they notified me late Monday afternoon, hey, we're gonna, can you do Friday night instead, this coming Friday, so 2 nights from now? I said, yeah, sure. So I didn't know what was going on. They don't tell me that. Sometimes that happens. That kind of change up a schedule. Maybe there's a bigger case, breaking news, something like that. So this was the breaking news that they rearranged their schedule for. So that's why they knew this was going to be on before they even aired it. So this wasn't breaking news to them. They had already known from, I guess, from watching Joel's channel, or maybe Joel reached out to him. Not sure the details of that, but anyway, everyone took this as, well, this attorney saying it's true, that he got it from a reliable source, so it must be true, right?
But Tim, tell us what you know and what your thoughts are about this offer, and also about the denial.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I was asking somebody else about another issue, and it came up about whether the trial was going to actually proceed. And then they mentioned possible plea deal. And then I was told she was offered time served if she gave up Wendy, and that she turned it down. I was shocked when I heard it. This is the first I've heard this anywhere. And I think it's a credible source.
Okay, well, the thing is, even if it was true, which I'm saying it's not, why would you report this out on the news? This stuff is supposed to be confidential. It's supposed to be back out of the public eye, and not there for the public to consume. This does affect jury selection, and so now this is going to be something that they're going to have to ask jurors. Have you heard anything about in the news about a plea offer being made? And so it just mucks up the process. So I was really shocked that this kind of thing was being broadcast here. Now, it's one thing if she accepted it and said, hey, this is going on. This is like, it's being put out there that, yeah, plea agreement has been signed. Donna's going to go ahead and flip on Wendy. So here we don't, here it's just a denial of a rejection of a supposed plea offer made by the state. But
Tim, one follow-up. Are you surprised about the offer, or are you surprised about refusing the offer?
I think that when I heard this question, I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, this is going to put Tim sort of in a quandary, because if he admits he's surprised to both, then that means that Donna does have information to incriminate and convict her daughter, Wendy. So Tim has always been outspoken about supporting Wendy. He's totally in Wendy's camp. So that's why I thought this sort of putting him in between a rock and a hard place. So let's see what he says here.
I'm not surprised by the offer, because as you know, everybody wants to go after Wendy. And I think that offer, if it's true, would tell you how strong a case they have against Wendy, that they were willing to give her time served, the mother.
So there you go. That's the defense talking point I'm telling you about, because this shows that they don't really care about Donna. I mean, come on, jury, you future jurors that are going to sit here and decide whether she's guilty or innocent of these charges in 2 weeks. Why don't you just focus on something else? But she's too old. Have some sympathy. Don't worry about this. She's just an old grandma. She's been locked up for so long. And so what this does right here is he's saying that basically you got such weak evidence against Wendy that you're willing to just let killer grandma out of prison as soon as she testifies against her daughter. So this is why I'm saying this is like, it helps both of them. It makes it look like the state's not really after Donna, and you know what, they got nothing on Wendy. So why don't we just roll the dice and let's see what we come up with and throw this out there. And hey, if Donna takes it, then hey, then we get some kind of sentences on at least both of them. So that's why I think this is like something that totally sounds like a defense talking point.
Even though she's 75 or 76, that means they're really desperate to go after Wendy. And am I surprised she turned it down? No, because she would probably have to give up Charlie and Wendy to get it.
Joel, what are your thoughts? Again, first about the offer itself, and then about the refusal.
Well, Vinny, not to take any shine away from your guests, because Tim and I are guests, but on my show, I always say we've got the best guests in a better community, and this is why. I mean, Tim's got insider knowledge inside of Tallahassee.
Okay, and here, Joel, I respectfully disagree with you, because Tim always hangs out with defense attorneys. He's in constant contact with multiple Adelson defense attorneys, whether it's Charlie's or Donna's or Wendy's. He's even announced that recently, that he was in 2 weeks, he was going to meet up with Laurel when he's in town. So is that the source of this, Laurel, Wendy's attorney?
Sources have burned people before. I wouldn't be completely surprised if this was not the case. But Tim,
okay, well, Joel, that's what it is. So, Joel, this is something that I don't know why that all these pro Wendy comments that Tim has made over the last couple of years. I just don't understand why him having all these contacts with the defense counsel and him making defense talking points is not considered suspect.
Always brings the goods, and I trust him. He's a frequent guest on the show. I was completely just stunned. The same.
Okay, well, he's said stuff that has been helpful to Survivor in the sense that he was the one that gave the tip that Donna was just arrested at the Miami airport trying to leave the country. And that was an accurate tip in that sense, because she was in fact being arrested almost 21 months ago. But the thing is, that also proves my point, is that he got that tip from, I'm talking about Tim got that tip from one of the Adelson defense lawyers. So that's what I'm saying. All these insider tips are defense talking points. That's my recurring point that I've been making when this guy is saying stuff so much of the time. I'll give it that Tim has, the background in terms of procedure, legal issues, legal points, but it's always like being used to seem, it's, from my perspective, it's always being used to help out Wendy. And that's what makes it so very odd. And keep in mind, he also said that he was mesmerized by Wendy when he saw her in the courthouse the first time, because he was so attracted to her. So, I mean, is there some kind of attraction that's affecting his views, or is it something about is he a spokesperson for them under the table? I don't know, but let's go on to see what we have here.
As everybody else, I had no idea it was coming. Tim and I talked frequently, and Tim said, "Hey, I've got something for your show tonight." I said, "Great." We were talking about something else, and then I sort of dropped this news cliche, this bombshell, which in this case is no cliche at all. But to Tim's point as well, no, I'm not surprised at all that she didn't take it. Professor Joe Patuto, who was on our show as well, a law professor with like 40 years experience, pointed out what Tim just did, which is to give up Wendy, you essentially have to admit to this crime, which in turn also means she has to give up her son, Charlie. Charlie's in this appellate process now, and if she kind of comes clean about everything, Charlie gets screwed as well, has got no shot at an appeal. So she sort of has her hands tied, but kudos to Tim Jansen for having the contacts on the inside and breaking that. Sorry I didn't do it on your show, Vinny, but next time he will.
Oh, I hope not. Well, I guess whatever. You guys do what you want, but yeah, this is something that's been running for 3 days now on Vinny's channel and Vinny's show, and also on the other morning show they have. I forget her name off the top of my head. Julie Grant. And so anyway, Julie Grant's been covering it as well. So anyway,
Doesn't matter. We get the information. As long as we get the information out. To me, this is fascinating because now let's go back to that phone call, right? So Tim, in that phone call.
well, speaking about a phone call, you know how this could have very easily been cleared up? Is just call the Markells, find out from them, and say, hey, were you guys told about a plea offer for time served? And the prosecution has to rely on inputs from the victims, and so they would share that specific detail with the victims. Victims have rights in this, so that's one way that could have been fleshed out.
Where she is calling her mom, Donna. What are you taking away from that phone call? Daughter to mother, allegedly breaking the news about the shooting of Dan.
It's just surreal. It's like, why would she call her mother in the middle of the interview with the police? I think the police were trying to get her make a statement, or maybe get the mother to make a statement. And it's really good acting, or you would say bad acting. I don't know how you could spin it, because at points it looks like Wendy is involved, and at other points it looks like she's not involved.
Yeah, so that's the thing, that he'll say, yeah, there's some indicators that, it looks like she's guilty, but then there's others that are not. And, you just don't have enough. So that'd be the public relations messaging would include this issue where, you don't say, hey, she's completely innocent, you have nothing on her, then you lose credibility in your strategic messaging. But if your messaging is along the lines of, you know what, yeah, there's a lot of indicators that make it look like she's involved in this, but you know what? It's just not credible enough indicators. There's not enough of them. And so you sort of like have this credibility, like you want to get there to yes, like, yes, I agree that she should be prosecuted. But you know what? There's always something out there that's you just can't cross the bar. So that's why I think this whole thing is totally it totally aligns with defense talking points once again.
So it's just surreal.
What fascinates me, Joel, is that she's a very bright woman. She's fully adult. She has children, but she needed her mom there, right? She's saying, I need you here, Mom. She says that in the phone call. I get it. You need your family around you in a time like this, but this is just happening. Like, all of this is just happening. What are your thoughts about because you can sort of hear a little bit of the other side of the phone call. Donna has sort of a loud voice. What did you take away from that?
I mean, to me, this is a damning call. Tim Jansen on our show, Wendy has worn the same dress at several trials, and he once remarked, well, an actress wears the same costume when they're performing. And I think there's some performative acting here by Wendy Adelson. To me, knowing what we know, and I'm not going to deny that I have a bit of prejudice here, but it's almost like what you said, Vinny, which she is letting Donna, her mother, know that the job was done. And if you notice on this call, there is just zero emotion. I mean, she's so up and down and roller coaster-ish with Detective Craig Eisen, but suddenly when she pivots to call her mom to sort of acknowledge that this happened, and you'll notice too, Donna doesn't really ask, is he okay? What happened? None of that till a few minutes into the call. So it's almost like Donna is accepting the call from Wendy, having anticipated it, and Wendy letting her know what happened a few minutes into the call. It's eerie knowing what we know now.
Absolutely is. Joel Waldman, host of Surviving the Survivor podcast. On this program, you learned why you need to listen to and watch that podcast as well. Tim's going to stick around. Still to come, was Wendy trying to implicate a man named Jeffrey Lacasse?
He just was convinced that I'd been cheating on him for months and had.
And guess what? The FBI has information that shows you actually were. She never stopped to think about that. That blew up in her face in the last trial testimony she gave against her brother, Charlie.
Kept track of it and was just absolutely convinced that I was cheating on him.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law. Now that the
I would have driven. Well, if I had left on my trip at the scheduled time that she had known about for quite a while, I would have driven pretty close to Danny Markel's house about the same time as.
So this is Jeff Lacasse, PhD professor type at FSU, not at the law school, but he's at the sociology department. And so he's the one that was set up as a fall guy. Wendy basically strung him along to have someone to be able to point the finger at as a jilted lover because she dumped him basically the week of the murder. So look at how close he came to driving by to Dan's house right around the time of the murder. That's what he's talking about right here. But thankfully he left a day earlier, so they could never point the finger at him. They had him up in Tennessee the day before, and they had plenty of videotape to show he was up there. So he was completely cleared entirely. He was never a suspect after that. Little did Wendy know that, though.
At the murder in a similar looking car to the suspect vehicle.
That's Jeffrey Lacasse. This is someone who, after the breakup of Danny and Wendy was dating him. And there he is describing that, if I had taken this route, I was driving the car, I may have been a suspect in the murder of Dan Markel. So Jeffrey Lacasse's name also comes up during the interview of Wendy Adelson. Take a listen.
Is Jeff a violent person?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Jeff own a gun?
I don't think so. I mean, my guess would be 100% no, but I guess I was only in his house one time. I mean, he certainly could have a gun and I wouldn't know about it, but.
Yeah, YouTube replier saying Tim got played. Yeah, that could be one of the scenarios too. Somebody said, hey, run this out there to Tim. He'll talk about it first chance he gets, and that's exactly what happened. So maybe the person that Tim thought was a credible source got played by somebody else. So this could have a daisy chain type effect. And it could all be a stunt just to help both these Adelsons, Wendy and her mom.
He lives by himself. Lives by himself. He'd never talked to me about a gun.
Okay.
I mean, he was in the military, so.
Oh, he was in the military before?
Yeah, he grew up in California. His dad was in the Air Force, and then he was in the Air Force and ended up in Eglin Air Force Base. And he started going to community college and took classes and was really bright and ended up doing a PhD here at FSU and then taught in Arizona and then just got rehired here. Not rehired, but hired. And he just was convinced that I'd been cheating on him for months and had kept track of it and was just absolutely convinced that I was cheating on him. And I kept telling him I wasn't, and he just was, I felt not very trusting of me, and it just made me feel really uncomfortable. And after that happened, I wasn't sure that I wanted to be with him anymore.
No, but, oh yeah, and he was in the military. I don't know if he had a gun. Maybe he had a gun. I don't know. Brings us.
She's leaving all those breadcrumbs. You're right, Vinny. She's trying to make it look like, hey, you got to really take a look at this guy. And she's thinking he left for Tennessee right about the same time the murder happened. So that, in her mind, would have made him look even more likely of a source of the murder because he's fleeing town, right? That's what could have been an issue. Did she mention the fact that he's he's on his way out of town, you might want to call him, he could turn around? No, she doesn't mention anything about him leaving town, that was already scheduled.
To the next question in our investigation. Was Wendy trying to implicate Jeffrey Lacasse? Is that possible? Is that possible?
Yeah, Melanie, Tim said Wendy's mesmerizing. That's what I said earlier. She was named an unindicted co-conspirator at the time when he said that. So to me, it was very strange comment, very unsettling comment to hear that.
Here to help with our investigation, Monica Jordan, Tim Jansen with us. Monica, what are your thoughts here? Do you think it's even possible that...
Now, keep in mind, Monica Jordan is a PI there in Tallahassee. She works a lot of cases with Tim, so she gets a lot of her income from Tim's referrals to work on cases jointly. So that's their relationship. She doesn't work for him in the legal office, but she has her own office, PI office, and so he refers stuff out to her.
Wendy was trying to kind of throw the name around there a little bit when she was starting to be questioned about some people?
I think Wendy was trying to fill every crack and hole in this case with whatever name she could give out. She implicates her brother within 20 minutes. She's now talking about a boyfriend that's jealous, or an ex-boyfriend that's jealous and thinks she's having an affair. Well, she's clearly not having an affair with her ex-husband, who she's in a horrible custody battle with. And she drags this poor guy into this incident no more than he wants to drag himself into it. He was pretty quick to want to involve himself, proved that he had a pretty solid alibi. But for the most part, Wendy is throwing rocks at everything. I just don't understand, after having learned that you're the father.
Monica's correct on this. Wendy was trying to point the finger at everybody that she could possibly think of, but the main person she wanted to point the finger at, and she relied on her friend Jane to mention Jeff as a suspect. And so anyway, it was this very much a terrible decision to try to use this honorable guy as a fall guy, because he's the least person you'd want to have as a psychologist expert, PhD type, to be able to analyze what was going on when you're setting them up for 6 months. Because he thought about it. He went back to the Tallahassee Police Department twice over the last 6 months after he was initially interviewed. He went there twice in 6 months to go say, hey, I've really been thinking more about the Adelsons and what's going on and things Wendy was doing for me. So he's basically telling them how he got set up to be the fall guy, but they just sort of looked at him as a jilted lover. And so that's part of the reason why I think this case strung out for so many years.
Mother of your children has just been taking a headshot in the garage. She's not like, listen, I want to get to my children. I'm worried about my children. I don't know who did this. We can talk about this later. And she doesn't do that. She's continuing to fill this information and do everything to deflect away from her when she's truly...
That's the word I've used over and over again, deflect. Wendy's deflecting. And so, yeah, it's everything about the way she's acting. None of it aligns to me from my experience with true victim status.
Ends up being almost in the center of it.
Tim, during one of the trials, Jeffrey Lacasse's testimony, interesting because, and I want to play it, and I wanted to get your comments on it, because it's kind of a bizarre conversation that he claims to have had with Wendy about his travel schedule. Let's take a listen.
When she called me back, she had a series of detailed questions about what I would be doing on Friday.
And Friday is going to be July 18th, right?
Yes.
And that's the date of the homicide?
That's exactly right.
What were her inquiries of you regarding that date?
I had a trip planned to Tennessee. She was aware that I was planning to leave about 11 a.m. On Friday. I need to get to Atlanta for an early dinner, so with traffic, she knew I was departing at 11. And at the yoga studio in the parking lot, she had asked if I was still going. If I didn't go, why not? what route I would be taking.
What route to
A
Tennessee?
lot of bizarre amount of
Right there. I mean, right there, the route he's taking to Tennessee. Why would Wendy care about what route he's taking and what time he's leaving on a Friday? He's already said, look, this is the way she's treating me. We're over. We're done with. She said, and she just got done telling him, don't talk to me. Don't have any contact with me. So
interest in that trip that didn't make sense to me at the time, given that she didn't want to spend time with me.
And how does it make sense to you now?
Well, if I had left on my trip at the scheduled time that she had known about for quite a while, I would have driven pretty close to Danny Markel's house about the same time as at the murder, in a similar looking car to the suspect vehicle.
Tim, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, Jeff came off as a very credible, overly emotional witness.
okay, right there. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. He'll give you a little bit of favorable stuff for the prosecution, but overly emotional. What emotion are you talking about? What emotion are you talking about? Let me back that up. That's ridiculous.
Tim, what are your thoughts about that?
What do you guys think?
Well, Jeff came off as a very credible, overly emotional witness.
Very credible, but overly emotional. So if you're overly emotional, you really aren't that credible because your emotions are like sort of got the best of you, and so your mind is not very accurate, right? So what are you talking about here? This is what I'm saying. Listen to the little things he says. So he's like playing both sides.
It does look like, because I think at the testimony you haven't played, he said she distanced herself from him. On that night in the parking lot, she didn't want to date him, didn't want to see him, but then she did ask these questions that he's referring to. When are you leaving? What time are you leaving? Very, very implicating questions that would lead one to believe they're trying to put someone else near the location. And then in this interview, you put that together, very jealous. He loves me, thought I was cheating. He's not violent, but he was in the military. His dad was in the military. So you never know. Altogether, yeah, she's giving another suspect.
Yeah, Monica, this is bizarre. Like, who cares about what route you're taking to go anywhere? That just
Like he could be a suspect, but he never says, look, he should not have been a suspect. He's a fall guy. Once this guy say that, no, it was a fall guy. You set somebody up for 6 months, 8 months as a fall guy, and you never had any serious intents of dating him. You're dating other guys behind his back and then trying to string him along, trying to say, hey, let's live together, get a car that's family oriented. Come on, can my boys call you dad? All that kind of stuff. So this is like a really, really seriously well thought out plan on how to daily mess with this guy's head. And so that right there shows this was a murder in the planning stages here. So I don't hear any of that kind of talk here. I never hear any kind of talk like, hey, you know what? That shows you how much of a planning was going on by Wendy as well as the others of her family of Florida, the Florida Adelson. So you don't ever hear that kind of stuff. So
to me doesn't make any sense. And the other thing is, it was always strange to me, the choice of vehicle by the hitmen in this case. Were they told what kind of vehicle to rent?
No, they thought it was cheaper and it was what was available. I mean, we've discussed before, these two nitwits blew a hole through the fuel line on the Prius. It was a hybrid, and almost ran out of gas and brought more attention to themselves on one of the scouting trips.
Unbelievable. So at the end of the day here, Tim, we have about 15, 20 seconds left here. 0 to 10 chances of Wendy being charged, knowing everything you know, including the news that you broke today.
I think they don't have enough to charge Wendy right now.
There you go. That's his main talking point that he always sticks to. So those of you that are new to the case, that's what you got to see as a constant theme for this guy. They don't have enough. I've even been on court TV with him before, and they won't even be talking about Wendy, and he'll bring up, oh, by the way, they don't have enough information against Wendy to prosecute her and get a conviction. So
I do want to add, when he said he was at the yoga studio, that yoga studio is less than 2 blocks from Dan Markel's house.
Wow. Wow.
That's true.
That unbelievable. Big thank you. Monica Jordan, always great to have your insight into the
house, Indy, right now. I do want to add, when he said he was at the yoga studio, that yoga studio is less than 2 blocks from Dan Markel's house.
Wow. Wow.
That's true.
That unbelievable. Big thank you. Monica Jordan, always great to have your insight into the case, having worked investigating it. Tim Jansen, thank you so much. Breaking news all day long. Wow. All right. You know, a lot of circumstances surrounding the state.
And then, so like I said, this was still going on today on court TV. And so I was like, this is something that should have been known by court TV that, hey, you got to retract this story. You got to distance yourself from this story. So here's what we got now. This is one of the reporters at the press conference of Jack Campbell. So let's see what Jack Campbell, this is the chief prosecutor there for that part of Florida. He's the state attorney prosecutor. So he's the one that ultimately calls the shots over the prosecutors we've seen in the courtroom against Charlie, for example. That's Georgia Kappelman and Sarah Dugan. So they're going to be the ones also prosecuting Donna.
In downtown Tallahassee, Donna Adelson's long-awaited trial is set to kick off in just under 2 weeks. She has her final pretrial hearing on Friday, but that's not all the developments taking place in this case this week. I would like to start with the latest that you've been dealing with in terms of the Adelson trial pertaining to rumors of a plea deal.
It's just totally unfounded and untrue. No such plea offer has been extended.
State Attorney Jack Campbell firmly denying any plea negotiations for Donna Adelson. Adelson is accused of orchestrating a murder-for-hire plot in Tallahassee, which led to the death of her former son-in-law, Florida State professor Dan Markel, in 2014. Reports that Adelson had been offered a plea deal of time served if she testified against her daughter and Markel's ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, were first reported on the podcast Surviving the Survivor. Adelson's attorney, Joshua Zellman, also confirmed to me in an email that no offer was made by the state to Mrs. Adelson. Do you expect this rumor to...
Okay, no offer was made. So I know that Joel was saying, well, no firm offers made. So there's other discussions on offer and stuff like that. So I just don't think you're going to see the prosecutor up here lying about the fact that there was no discussion about a plea agreement.
Have any impact on that jury selection?
Well, that's my concern, and that's why the ethical rules allow pretrial publicity for corrections of things like this, and that's why I so quickly wanted to come out and correct it.
I spoke with...
Well, that's a good thing you did there, Jack Campbell, because this was running like wildfire through news sources that are following this case, and for this to be that wrong, that there was no offer made. Like I say, consider what this looks like it was designed to do, which is help Donna's case look weaker and help Wendy's case look weaker.
Criminal defense lawyer Dan Pumphrey Jr. with Pumphrey Law, who has been following this case. He doesn't believe Judge Everett, who's over this case, will let these rumors have any impact on jury.
They're going to vet that jury. And they're going to want to make sure on both sides that the plea negotiations are not going to affect the panel.
Campbell says he still expects the...
That's the thing. You got to now ask. Jury selection is going to take a little bit longer because you're going to have to ask jurors that have been following the news on this case. Well, have you heard anything about a plea agreement that was offered to Donna that she turned down, that kind of stuff? So it just mucks up the waters. It doesn't allow you to have a nice glide path going to trial. And it just muddies the water and mucks stuff up.
Case to go to trial. That will begin August 19th.
Obviously, we don't know how long the jury will deliberate, but I would expect it to be done in 3 weeks.
a reminder that Donna Adelson.
So right there, he's saying it could be over in 3 weeks. So anyway, let me go back to full screen mode. So what questions you all have? So I think that this really is a issue that was just not vetted. It just got like a runaway train here, and now the judge is going to have to make sure this kind of information does not affect a juror's input and views on this case. So I'm not. I'm not going to say that someone didn't tell him that he's not reporting the truth on this live stream on Monday. But what I can say is that why would you want to do something like that and get all this discussion out just 2 weeks before a trial starts? Why would you do that? I don't understand that. Why he would not have better judgment than that. So I just consider the source, and as it turns out, yeah, this source was incorrect. So, and just the big smile that he had on his face, it looked like he was so giddy and so happy to reporting this stuff. So he just lost his focus, lost his responsibility as a lawyer not to affect the proceedings. So imagine you're saying something on a channel that's covering this murder, and they have one of the highest viewerships, and guess what? You have to have the state attorney make a public address, a press conference, and not just some kind of a press release, an actual press conference to rebut what this guy is saying that was insider information. So anyway, like I say, from my experience, all this insider information is exactly aligned with defense talking points. So, and we know he hangs out with all Adelson lawyers. So there you go. So do y'all have any questions here? I'll take some questions here. If you can do a red emoji, that's the way, I can find the questions quickest that way. Thanks. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that. I don't need your money. K Money 901, thank you. But I tell people, keep your money. Some people once in a while complain and say, why do you have ads on there? Look, ads are part of YouTube. What you can do to get rid of ads is have a premium subscription. I think my brother John was saying you can get one as low as $8.99 a month now. That's already in place or it's about to be rolled out. Leap Day Boy, I think Wendy will be charged no matter what Tim says. Yeah. So for him to say he doesn't think there's enough evidence, all it takes is one little thing as an indicator. And I think that, her driving to the crime scene, her setting up Jeff Lacasse for 6 months, that really shows planning. If you're planning on dating a guy just to set him up and jerk him around and make him look like you're serious about him when you're really not, and then the timing of all this, hey, when were you going, what route are you going up to Tennessee? 18th of July. Let's see. I got to ask Dan, is he going to be around the 14th to the 18th of July? Ask him that in a text message 2 weeks before he's murdered. And guess what? He's murdered on the 18th of July, or at least they tried to. He lasted a few hours into the 19th. So anyway. Yeah, I just don't get it. Yeah, Appears to be propaganda to me. That's what it appears to be. Is Tim going to come out and say, "Hey, look, my source was wrong. I'm sorry," or just explain himself? I don't think so. Clarissa, you're saying the Adelsons will do anything to move this trial out of Leon County. Maybe that's why the rumor started. Yeah, I mean that could be a point that's accurate as well. So I just think basically from what's happened now with this information, having to have the state attorney chief prosecutor get out there and hold a press conference to refute this guy's breaking news that he put out there is very, very much one of these deals where who would leak any information to this guy, that's working for the government or has any insider knowledge. He also has said this past week that somebody in the state attorney's office confirmed for him that they're not going after Wendy. There's not enough evidence against her. So would you believe that? I don't believe that at all either. So it just looks like it's desperation, propaganda, desperation type stuff. But anyway. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that the Florida Ethical Committee for the state bar is going to do anything against him. I don't see this being an ethical issue. There's an ethical issue for the attorneys of record on this case with Donna from not making certain statements to the public, but somebody that's not affiliated with the case at all in terms of being a counsel of record in the court filings. Senator, you're asking, do I think this incident alone could delay Donna's trial? I don't think so. Maybe they're trying to feed information to Tim through a source he's going to think is credible, and then it turns out being nothing but information to try to help get the change of venue motion granted. So I think that the change of venue motion is Donna's really, really desperation effort to try to get the judge to get this case moved to a different city in Florida. She's hoping it gets moved to South Florida. And she does not like Tallahassee. She hates Tallahassee. The people up there are a bunch of country bumpkins or a bunch of hicks in the eyes of the Adelsons. So Linda Caps, yeah, I think it's just, there's many more that are out there. I haven't beat the bushes to come up with every single one. There's always more as well. So yes, inquisitively me, when will the inmate witnesses be transferred to Tallahassee and will they be placed in different jails? They'll get there probably at least a week before the trial, 1 to 2 weeks. So they're probably getting close to being shipped out. And then some will be in the Tallahassee area. Some will be maybe an hour away at other jail or prison facilities. Yeah, Missy, you saying you hate ads during live streams? I had Red Bull reach out to me. It seemed like they're legitimate, asking if they could do advertising on this channel. I don't know. It seems like maybe that's a joke as well. Maybe I'm getting played, but I don't want to have any ads on this channel. Fierce like Frida, thoughts on court TV should in their own double checking before having this become so big and false. Yeah, I don't know that court TV is what they're thinking. I think they took it the fact that the Jack Campbell's office wasn't responding back to him. They thought, oh my gosh, this must be true. They're not responding. They won't refute it. So they even had Julie Grant. Yeah, it was Julie Grant. She was saying how they're not responding. So that's like some kind of admission or something. But they just didn't respond to her or the show. But they did respond to other people, and then they finally held this press conference. Luigi, you're asking what I consider going to STS to give Joel's audience your view on Wendy. Well, I've already given my view on Wendy on Joel's show previously. You're saying Professor Joe and I are aligned on this. I'm not sure what she says about Wendy, but but I think STS knows that I'm not going to sit back and let stuff that one of their witnesses says that's to me blatantly false or defense talking point just be unresponded to by me. I just don't like anybody that I in my opinion is gaslighting the Markells. That's what I can't stand to see. They've gone through enough. Can you imagine since this didn't happen, according to Jack Campbell, this so-called offer to time served, then can you imagine how this would have taken the Markells by surprise? They're like, what? Their phones are probably blowing up. People going, hey, what's going on with this plea agreement? What do you know about it? So anyway, there's no plea agreement, as Jack Campbell said in the press conference. All right, Sonny San Clemente, what do I think of Tim also on the same show saying how DeGan doesn't think they have enough to go after Wendy? You were so upset it's not true. Yeah, any attorney that looks at this that has experience trying violent crime cases could look at this. Okay, you know what? I'll take it to trial. I'm not afraid of losing a case like this. I've had cases like this that other people are like, oh, I don't know if we're not going to get a conviction on a case like this. Well, I'll take it to court. Let's go. If I think they did it, I'll get a conviction. The evidence would be there. If it was like, there's evidence really going both ways, it's like reasonable doubt. Yeah, then if you're not sure in your own mind whether somebody did the crime or not, then you shouldn't be taking them to court. But as a prosecutor, if you're convinced somebody did the crime, you need to go after them. Yeah, let's see here. No name channel. How do we smoke out possible paid shields that present as do good lawyers on a certain podcast? I think someone is a double agent, maybe greasing the hands of the podcast host. Just my opinion. Well, to me, as an experienced prosecutor and defense attorney, I can tell you that I can just pick up on stuff. All right. So it's the way somebody talks, the way they act, their consistent type of double talk. I just have an ear for that kind of stuff. And the messaging, strategic messaging, I pick up on right away. And it doesn't, to me, it doesn't seem that there's a neutral reporting. When you're hanging around with Adelson lawyers all the time or frequently, and they're reaching out to you for information and tips, the flow of information is going both ways. So I think that would be an excellent thing to do if you had a high profile case that's covered around the world, is have a local attorney be able to be on local stations and podcasts around the world and basically be talking about how, there's this information and evidence that we see that it makes so and so look guilty, but they're just not going to, you're not going to get a conviction on that. There's just too many holes that are out there that a jury's just not going to convict on that. So you make those kind of talking points where you sort of like sound like you're neutral, and so why wouldn't defense do something like that? Hire somebody to represent neutral interests on news channels. Look, Les Kirka, is Wendy going to outright lie on the stand this time? Well, there's pretty much most of what she says is not truthful. And she tries to do a lot of deflection. But last time she testified, she knows that Georgia had the details that could prove she was lying. So I don't think she walked away feeling good about her testimony like she did the 2 times before. River Birch, you're saying Tim's comment has Wendy freaking out because she knows the possibility exists that Donna or Charlie could testify against her to get a deal. Well, I think she that could be a possibility, but how do we know it didn't come from her camp? Rachel, are you annoyed? Yes, I'm disappointed, and like I say, the biggest thing is what this the effect it has on Markel's, hearing about this chaotic rumor and then it turning out to be not true. And it could affect the jury. So this is not something that should be happening 2 weeks before trial. Yeah. Sonny in San Clemente, that was not Julie Grant. You're saying Julie Grant was on STS when Tim announced it, but before he said it, she was talking about how they would never offer a plea deal, and then he made his statement, and she was shaking her head. Yeah, that wasn't Julie Grant. That was Julia Janae, she's a reporter. She doesn't usually broadcast from the booth up in Atlanta. John Smith, Phil and Ruth were probably heartbroken until this was debunked. I can imagine that. Paula Kimball, yeah, I just look at everything Tim says is like stuff that the Adelson Defense Counsel, especially for Wendy, would just be like cheering them on, saying, excellent. We love to hear that. That is excellent. So, yeah, it's disappointing to see that, but yeah, I don't think it's anything unethical. It's just something that you just don't do. You don't do that, and you're not helping the prosecution. Brady Star, that's a good point. Phil and Ruth do not need the additional attention the stress provides. Tony Ferguson, I totally respect you and appreciate you, how you seek the truth. In my opinion, Court TV has lost all credibility after how they handled the Karen Reed trials. Yeah, especially Julie Grant. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just very disappointed in them. I didn't think I'd be back on their channel after the way they allowed Julie Grant to go after Karen Reed, but anyway, I'm basically I don't know if I'm going to still come back on STS. I'm sorry, not STS, Court TV. Yeah, so if you stop to think about it, Jansen gets information from the state attorney's office, as he said this past week, that Wendy won't be prosecuted, and he's also getting leads from the defense counsel. So it's like he's the PR spokesman for the prosecution and the defense. Isn't that nice? The one-stop shop for all things Adelson. This guy has all the inside scoop. People leak some stuff from the prosecutor's office, and they leak some stuff from the defense counsel offices. In actuality, nobody would want to report anything to Tim. I would say if they know this stuff is right away going to get out there in the news. So unless, like I say, maybe some kind of prank or it's a defense talking point that they leaked to him some way. I mean, think about it. Harvey could have sent him an email saying, hey, they're offering Donna, blah, blah, blah. That could be a reliable source in his mind. So yeah, you see that they're trying to taint the jury pool. J.C. Constantine. It will take extra time to filter people out, perhaps. Don't know for sure, but yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm not. I'm just here to talk about these issues. I'm not here to. I'm not here to pick on anybody. I'm just calling it like it is. Yeah, so it's. I mean, it's not fun to talk about this kind of stuff. I don't like this being an issue we have to address. Like I said, I waited till tonight to address it just because I was like, this is so wrong to blab this stuff out. Even if it was 100% accurate and truthful, you don't do that. This stuff is confidential. You're messing with the jury pool. So yeah, I was just like, beautiful waterfall. I think the Markells would be quite pleased to see Wendy hauled in, though. Absolutely. Absolutely. Why would they think Wendy was behind this? Wendy didn't want to give the number out to the police station there when she's being interviewed. Give Phil Ruth a chance to fly down, take the first flight out of Canada. Why would she say that they're going to say I did it? Why? Why would they say that about you? Tell us more, Wendy. And she was in a talkative mode, so Isom really dropped the ball on that one. Could have got a lot of information. Well, tell us why they would think you did it. He just completely glossed over that one. Monjeezy, do I think Georgia will ask any new lines of questioning when she has Wendy on the stand? I think so. Yeah, I think this time she's going to ratchet it up even more. Irene, you're asking would the prosecution ever offer Donna time serve if she gave up Wendy and they promised not to arrest Harvey? I don't see that happening. No, time served, no way. She'd have to do like 5-10 years, or like with 10 years, would you get out on parole after a third of it? So Moonchild Pink, Tim did this last trial. Yeah, he did commentary on the Charlie's trial, but I was doing it also from the, I guess it was the second day after opening statements, and so I didn't see what commentary there was, but I've heard that Tim really had no commentary when Wendy was testifying. So I don't know if that's true or not, but go back and check that out if you want to see for yourself. Teresa, Nick, you're sick of other lawyers saying they have nothing on Wendy. Well, keep in mind that was the case when I first got on this channel, when my brother twists my arm and got me to talk about this case, because I'm like, they got enough on her. What are they talking about? But keep in mind, there's so many people out there that are not prosecutors with experience. They're not defense attorneys with experience. They've never done a criminal case. And I know one that even represents themselves as being involved in all kinds of criminal cases, and yet they aren't. So, and never have been. So they're just acting like they have the experience to know what they're talking about. So anyway, I'm just telling you based on my experience, the way things really work. And there's a lot of people that are weak on crime as prosecutors. They just don't have the guts to go after the tough cases, and they'll settle stuff they shouldn't settle on, or dismiss stuff they shouldn't dismiss on, and come up with excuses to not do the right thing. So yeah, it makes a huge difference in who you have as a prosecutor on your case. You could have a winnable case, but if you get the wrong prosecutor in there, you could lose it. Just like same thing about a surgery. If you're going to go to some kind of surgeon, you could have a totally smooth surgery, but if you get the wrong surgeon there, he could do all kinds of stuff to mess you up. He could kill you, right? So same thing with the prosecutor. He could kill your case. You could lose a case that should easily be winnable just because you don't have the right prosecution skill set and tenacity. So yeah, anyway, I'm just yeah, there's never any identification of sources. No title. Think about it. There's no title to the source. There's no name of the source. There's no position of the source. There's no where they live. There's no, here's how I know it's reliable information. Just, this is more like, just trust me, right? All right. I'm trying to keep this channel clean, and so I don't want any profanity or perversion comments on here. I'm not here. We're not here to bash people and have any hate. I don't have any hate towards anybody that I'm talking about here, but I'm talking about, you know, things I hate to see. So we don't need to get overly emotional about this, right? We should just have strong passion, but not overly emotional, or we lose our professionalism. He said it. He said it on tonight's live stream where I showed a replay of what he said Monday, and so he's been saying it lately. Although a couple months ago he said that the tide is changing, or some words like that, and he's hearing that Wendy's going to get arrested in the near future. So yeah, there's a hearing coming up on the 8th here this Friday. So I'll be covering that as well. Not sure if I'll be doing a live stream on that or just covering it Friday night. John Smith, you're saying, do you think the really good stuff they have on Wendy would not be questioned now due to her being able to use it on her later? I think is what you're trying to say. I do think that, yeah, they're not going after her for every detail. I'm going to try to do it daily, and I may even do a live stream. I'm not sure if I'll cover the whole trial from start to finish, but I'm thinking about doing that now. Rich Auntie, they all seem to be doing Wendy's bidding. What are they thinking? Wednesday is the most manipulative out of all the Adelsons. Well, keep in mind also, so many attorneys that may talk about this case, they don't know anything about the case. You got to spend a lot of time knowing all the characters, all the testimony and whatnot. So it's going to be few attorneys that really have the deep, intricate details. Yeah, I mean, there was somebody on Court TV on this segment I played tonight. In the beginning of the show on Monday, some kind of psychologist, and she was talking about how Wendy seemed appropriate in her response to calling her mom or doing something. I forget what it was, something in her interview. She said it was. Um, so anyway, yeah, that's very, very, very bizarre how you see different people saying how, yeah, Wendy sounds credible to me. Joy Moore, how and who do you think put this plan into action? Actually brought up killing Dan. Yeah, that's anyone's guess, but I would say probably Wendy was saying enough stuff on a constant drumbeat basis to her mom to get her riled up that maybe Donna's the first one that uttered the words. But I think when you look at the hatred coming from Wendy against Dan, then I think that in her mind, she's the one that actually came up with it. Think about it in her book. She mentioned somebody was murdered in her book. The husband was murdered. And so I see the trial channels here. I know you're going to cover the case as well. If I do live streaming though, I'll be using a different channel because I'll probably use Court TVs or somebody like that. Yeah, Sonny San Clemente, you agree, you know more about this case than people on Court TV and a lot of their guests. Constantly yelling at the TV, correcting people. Yeah, I don't. All right, let's see, it's 11:03. I'm gonna go a few more minutes here on your questions. I've been jumping around here. D. Gibb, you're saying if Wendy's ultimately convicted, I think Jansen will break down and cry while covering it. Yeah, I don't know about that, but Timmy Smith, I think Tim Scoop was basically correct. Some type of deal was floated down as attorney. In my opinion, that happens in 98% of criminal cases in Tallahassee. Yeah, most cases are settled. That is true, but that doesn't mean it happened here. And even if it did happen, the point is you don't leak that kind of information. That the damage is done to affect the jury pool, to affect the Markells, as I've said. So you just don't go down that road. So I'm just letting you all know the CrimeCon convention is 5 to 7 September. So Leslie and I will be out there for that, and John's going to try to make it one of the nights as well, because this trial may be still going on. So River Birch, Wendy was the only person that could have provided information that Dan was leaving town and that the hit had to be when it was. Yeah, because Hitman knew that Dan was leaving town and they had to get it done by that Friday. So how would they know that? Teresa Long, Wendy, I was the only one that also knew he was going to the gym too. Probably so. Sub Rosa, Canada can be soft on crime. A 6-year sentence is unheard of for committing the M word. Yeah, that's shocking because Canada is like Northern Europe, most of Europe. You could steal $10 million and maybe do 5 years in prison and get out in 2. It's unreal. And same for violent crimes. Maybe not even 10 years you'd serve. Lori Smith, have I ever thought of Wendy's highly connected lawyer, Laurel, as one of the reasons for her delayed arrest? I don't think so. That shouldn't be the reason. I don't know what he would do to scare them from prosecuting. Martin's, could this source have been the lady that was also on the show that night? She excessively shook her head as it was announced and was always in the courtroom herself. But she's not down there right now. That's Julie Janae from Court TV. So no, I don't think that's the source. She only goes down when the actual trial's ongoing. So, all right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for tonight. Thank you guys for supporting the Markells. We will have more coverage here. That's the plan anyway, Friday evening. And if there's a chance I can do a live stream during the day, I may do that as well. So with that, you all have a good night, and I'll see you later. Take care. Thanks.